All right, Coach, here with head coach Fred McNair. Coach, just give us an opening statement on last week's win. Just replay that over preview view and then get ready for Bethune-Cookman this week.
I think it was a great win. I think the team came out and played all together a complete ball game in terms of what we need to get done in offensive, defensive, special teams. I think the special team came up big with a block punt. Trey played exceptionally well at quarterback in terms of what we wanted him to get done. Not having any turnovers, that we could against Prairie View was big. That's what happens when you don't have turnovers. You escape with wins, even if it's overtime win. But he was big in terms of driving the offense, in terms of what we need to get done offensively. I think the defense played an exceptional first half. We came out the second half, or shut out first half. We came out the second half and kind of gave up 2 touchdowns right away in the third quarter. But other than that, I thought the team strained themselves. A lot of energy on the sideline. I like to see that, the energy part on the sidelines in terms of these players just getting behind one another and cheering each other on. That was exciting to see. So very excited about going into this game against Bethune-Cookman here on the reservation. So got a lot of challenges up front. So we got a quarterback, so do a threat quarterback that's going to come in, and Jalen. He's been good for him. So he actually the second lead rusher behind Mr. Bird in terms of running the football. So hopefully we can contain those guys and get things done. Got a big tall receiver, 6'5" guy, 250 pounds, and Kamari, big old boy. But the guy to stop is Riley. He's a lead receiver with 495 total yards. So we got a work cut out for us this week. Defense got to work hard. That's what we've been working through the course of practice the last 3 days. In terms of defense getting prepared for explosive offense. Offensively, I think we just got to continue to manage the game for a young quarterback with his second collegiate start here on the reservation in front of a home crowd. So we're able to do that and have no turnovers and throw the ball around a little bit and rush the football. And I think we'll be okay for this Bethune-Cookman team coming in.
Coach, you already mentioned it. You talked about how Bethune can hit you in a number of ways, and their record is not indicative of kind of the team that Terry Sims has. You talk about Riley, you talk about Jalen Jones, and then, of course, Quayshawn Bird. Just talk about some of the things that they present as a problem, especially last year with Kamari Everett's kind of breakout year in this league and him being looked at as an NFL prospect. Just talk about how you show fans and the team to say, hey, look, don't look at that record. Look at the product that they have in the field, and they're putting up points on people. As
of last year, it's a show from last year. We went out and Bethune-Cookman last year. They haven't won a game, so. And I tell the guys they're better than 0 and whatever it was we played them. I think like 0-6 at the time. So when we played them, I told the guys, coming into this game, they're better than 2-17. So we just got to get ready to play these young men and play them hard. So I think Terry Sims has done an outstanding job of managing that program and getting up to par to where it's at now. They've been close in ball games. The other teams has been just the narrow escape. So. In terms of what these guys can do, we just got to be ready to play a solid ball game. They got some good players on the team, so we got to prepare for it in terms of getting these guys ready to play.
Coach, they've struggled against the run this year. Is that something that you look to kind of take advantage of? Is that try-down offense back there with Leatherwood, Duffy, and, of course, the big man, Agent Zero, with Jarvin Howard? Is that something you try to look to exploit this week with knowing that Bethune's kind of had a problem against the run this season?
That's what we do. We try to rush the ball first and to open up our passing game. And I think that the way people have been playing us with 6 and 7 in the box, sometimes 8 coming out with the safety, is always a challenge for us. And I think the offensive line did a great job against Prairie View last week, being able to rush for 218 yards. And this is not going to be nothing different. That's what we do. But at some time we got to come and throw the ball around. So hopefully, we get those guys in and get some yardage off the run and open the passing game up a little bit more too as well. So we're going to try to keep it balanced. The run pass option. We're going to try to keep it balanced up to where they won't just really be able to dictate what we're doing on offense.
Coach, talk about Trey's progression from last week to this week and everything he's been doing in practice to kind of come along even further and further within the offense. Just talk about how much you've seen him grow. Maybe not even just on the field, but in the team room, in the meeting room, watching film, studying film, and noticing defensive plays.
It's a good room. Even before Avery went down, Trey was always very active in communicating with the quarterback coach, Coach Phillips, in terms of what they need to get done and what he's seeing. This week has been kind of a difficult week because now you're coming home in front of a home crowd. You got to prepare yourself to play a flawless ball game. But understand this: that he's a young man. He's a redshirt sophomore that's playing his position for his second career start. You know, he's gonna make mistakes, but the thing is about it, we just got to rally around him to keep his confidence up. He's a very confident quarterback too, as well. So the biggest thing is for him to just continue to gain confidence, continue to make the throws that he can make, just get to the open receiver, and I think he's done a good job of that against Prairie View doing that. So hopefully it carries over in this game, mistake-free, no turnovers, and hopefully we'll come out with a second win of his career.
Claude Shirless was preseason Phil Steele team, second team on there. Just talk about him last week, Coach. 15 tackles. This is the Claude that you expect to see. He's been bumped and bruised all season, fought through it, but now in the biggest stage against a really good Prairie View RPO team, he steps up 15 tackles. Coach, just talk about Claude, and is this the one that everyone has been expecting to see, but don't know that he was bumped and bruised all season? He's been playing through a lot.
And he has been. I mean, ever since the Tulane game, he's been playing beat up and bruised up and everything. So he's fighting injuries, and you know he's still fighting injuries, and he's tough as nails. You know, he missed a couple of days of practice this week, so came back today and practiced really hard, and I'm looking for Claudine Cherry to step up this week in terms of his tackles and things that he does so well. You know, he's downhill full speed. You know, make explosive plays in the backfield. You know, tackle for losses. Against Prairie View, he had a sack, 1.5 tackle for a loss, and you know, 13 tackles. I mean, that's crazy. Being in the backfield all the time. So he's done an exceptionally well job in terms of what he doing defense as a linebacker.
Coach, one of his partners in crime up there really had a breakout performance, Malachi Bailey. Talk about that young man and what he's been able to do this season.
Unbelievable, man. I tell you, Malachi Bailey had 2 sacks in Prairie View last week. Phenomenal job. He's done turn his motor up a little bit. And I see it every day at practice. You know, he worked hard at practice. Coach Bradley's done a great job of getting that guy in gear in terms of what he needed to get done as a player. You know, had 8 tackles last week and 2 sacks, and that was big for him. He was very energized and getting back to himself, especially in the overtime period. You know, he rushed the passer. He did a phenomenal job of getting back to the quarterback.
Coach, you got some Florida talent on this team, and obviously with Cookman coming in, being from Daytona Beach, you got close enough to home with Trey, you know, being a Duval guy up in Jacksonville, and of course Claude and KJ Kinsler. Just talk about what it means to these guys to be able to play against those some players that they've seen in high school, and you know, Coach, Florida high school football is it's tremendous against each other, but these guys been able to see each other and kind of play against each other, and what it means in this league for those guys to be able to step across lines and just kind of go head to head against each other that they've known for so long against Florida talent.
There's always competition. Florida. These guys talk about it all the time, which state got the best talent and all that kind of stuff, between Texas, Georgia, and Florida, and all these big time states, man. And the biggest thing is when these guys play each other against high school, and then they step across the line on the collegiate level, it's the same way. I mean, these kids gonna compete against each other.
Yeah.
They want to see who's gonna be the best, and you know, Trey, he's a quarterback, and KJ Kinsler from Florida too as well. So those guys down there in South Florida down there, it's going to be competitive. And I can see it in the fire in these guys' eyes, a team coming out of Florida to play here at Alcorn State this week. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be some tough hitting going on there.
Coach, I want to allude to Trey, just to kind of get back on him just for a minute. It's a guy that came out of Jacksonville and Mandarin High. That's not a place that a lot of guys leave the state a lot. Mandarin's a high school that kind of stays in state, along with Raines and Jacksonville First Coast, a lot of those teams. Those guys really don't leave the state. How are we able to pull Trey here to Alcorn?
I'll tell you what, the biggest thing about Trey played receiver when he was at Mandarin too. You know, we looked at him as receiver and looked at him at the quarterback too. So it was kind of a do a situation where, okay, we get this guy, we got 2 and 1 as a receiver and as a quarterback. So just looking at Trey when he came here, you know, his stature was very thin, and put on a little weight since then, but not very much. But standing back there in that pocket, got a big heart. That's what I like about him. He's confident in his throws and everything. So just the idea of him coming out of there, leaving Florida and come here to Alcorn State, it says a lot about our recruiting, how we can pull kids from those states that don't ever leave. He's a highly recruited kid coming out of high school. So we was able to get him here, and now he got a chance to lead his football team.
Coach, last week, one of the plays of the game that kind of went unnoticed, I guess, from a lot of people's standpoints, if they really had not paid attention, was the cutback by Manny Jones in overtime. And this is a young man, Coach, another one, bumped up, bruised up. It's your special teams guy. What Manny did, what Manny does, he cut back and showed that kind of kickoff, punt return stuff, that speed that he has. Just talk about that play and how much it really meant to driving that game forward to the victory.
Yeah, with the flow of everything on the jet sweep coming back to us on the sideline in front of us, we thought he could have just stayed with it and with the speed he got, just stay outside. But being as his stature is, being as small as he is, hiding behind those offensive linemen, they didn't see him. He cut back, and I thought he was going to score there. But he wasn't able to. But he's done a tremendous job in terms of what we need to ask him to do. Since the Grambling game, when he bobbled the kickoff return, so asking him to catch punts, that's a very big responsibility of a player. You ask him to do, because you blind looking up and people running down, you don't know what to expect. So that's a tough job. But he's done well, and hopefully continue to catch the ball for us and play offense as well. So he's a threat for us.
Coach, on the defense side of the ball, there's another guy that a lot of guys, that a lot of fans may not notice the little things he does, Coach. But, because you look at the stat sheet, he may not be filling it up, but, Coach, they're not going at him either. Talk about Cavante Key.
I tell you what, Cavante Key, he's a solid player for us. Just what you want in a corner, the height, the length of him, and just playing well. People been throwing at him, he's never given up. He's constantly a steady player for us. He's banged up a little bit too as well, so he's playing through some stuff too. So just for him to go out there and compete like he compete, man, it's unbelievable. And what the fans really see and really notice about players, but they really don't see what we notice as coaches, and how much these players are hurting with their body, but they're still strained on the football field.
Coach, Bethune-Cookman has some people that have Mississippi connections. Of course, Darren Hayes spent some time at Mississippi Valley State. Talk about we had talked about why those kind of coaches would come here to the state to recruit a lot of very good athletes. You and I have talked off camera that there's so much talent here in this state, in a state that may be overlooked by the high schools, but not in the Juco, that the Juco market is so stacked. We've talked about it. Coach, what makes the Jucos here so great? What is it that has those programs some of the most elite that you can get in the nation?
The biggest thing is, and I tell people all the time, look at these Jucos now, they done upgraded. Their facilities are phenomenal facilities, and we have lost some kids to some Jucos. Jucos is really beating us up as recruiting, because we recruit the same kid these Jucos recruiting. In terms of what they got at these Jucos, there's no comparison. These kids go to Juco and try to get recruited again out of these Jucos instead of just coming to a Division I school. So that's the biggest thing. And talk about recruiting, these kids like to see stuff. It's a vision for them. It's all about what you got. If you don't have anything, why am I coming here? And even when you got these JUCO kids coming on a visit to the universities, and some of the universities don't have what these JUCOs have, so they turn their face away and go the other way. But the biggest thing is, in this recruiting, you still got to recruit, no matter what. And there's a lot of talent here in the state of Mississippi. You got 14 JUCOs in the state of Mississippi, and the first couple of weeks out of recruiting, we always hit the JUCOs first in terms of trying to get players to come here. We still build this thing from a high school standpoint. We are going to recruit high school players to come here. We got some that's committed right now, but we just got to continue to pound these JUCOs and get those guys with a little bit more experience than having to start from the foundation up. But we're always still going to build that foundation throughout the high school ranking. We're always going to recruit high school players.
Coach, what kind of high school player do you have here in the state of Mississippi? A lot of people may not know. What's the average kind of to know about a high school player? Is it his physicality? Is it the toughness? What makes these Mississippi kids so good that gets them to the NFL level? You're talking about Jerry Rice and so many guys that have come out this area and in the state. Coach, what is it about a Mississippi kid that makes them that good? What's the special thing inside of them?
Just coming from these small schools in the state of Mississippi, that would make them hungry, because all the other schools out of the state of Mississippi, they have a chance. You see these NFL guys going to those bigger schools and these small schools in the state of Mississippi. You got Southern Miss, you got Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Of course, they got to pick up a little. So just being able to come here and just exploit your talent and show them that you still have the same ability that these recruits that's going to these other schools, and Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Southern Miss. So those kind of players that we try to recruit. We've stolen a few players from Southern Miss in terms of recruiting, and things of that nature. But you take T. Adams. T. Adams, for pound, the best athlete on this football team. Just getting them to understand the concept of what we're doing, that's the thing, and he's coming along now. So hopefully, we'll get the maximum out of these last few ball games, and make sure coming up he'll make a bigger impact coming out of Marita, Mississippi. So that's the biggest difference when you talk about recruiting and the expectation when you come to a Mississippi school, and the physicality plays a big part in it. So you got to be very physical.
Coach, we talked about it on Friday night. When you look back and you look at 40 wins here at Alcorn, what's the most special thing to you? What's something when you look back and you say, wow, 40 wins, what's been the most special?
Just over the years, you talk about 40 wins, and I really didn't know it until you mentioned to me the other night. And I think about the young men that got these wins since I've been here. And I think about those players that really just pushed themselves to those victories in terms of regular season games, championship games, SWAC conference, and all those things. That those guys have really just pushed themselves to get those 40 wins in my career. So those guys still plays a big part in the things I've done here at Alcorn State University in terms of the winning percentage. But just looking back, and I always think about those young men that really come out and fought for us and got those wins.
Coach, when you look across the board and all the guys that you've sent on to the pros, Canadian, just everywhere, just NFL, CFL, etc., what's the one thing that means the most to you about those young men? What is it when you see them on that next level? What is it that you say, that makes me feel good? What is it?
Just the opportunity of being able to coach them and mentor those young men to be a better person when they leave Alcorn State University. Not only as an athlete, but a champion, educated person too. Because with it all said and over and done with, you got to do something in your life. Football is not going to be for everybody. I've sent kids to be able to go in the workforce. When they leave here, championships, and being able to get a good job at some kind of law firm or whatever it may be. That's what makes me happy when I see those players come up and say, "Thanks, Coach, for everything that you've done for me."
Coach, last question on Bethune this weekend. What do you have to tell the guys to say, remember last year? Do you have to, or do you just go in there and say those exact words, remember last year?
I did one time during the course of the week. I think it was Sunday when we practiced Sunday night. I said, guys, just don't forget what happened last year down in Daytona. And they all know. And the biggest thing is, coming in at 2-7 now, I think Bethune is, and just the biggest thing is we got to fight, man. We still got to fight. We got to put up a good fight, because they gonna come in ready to play. They're not gonna come in just lay down. They're gonna be ready to play. It's gonna be a physical ball game.
Coach, one thing to describe Alcorn football this weekend, we got to do it.
It's gonna be tough.
Coach,
it's gonna be tough.
That's what we like to hear. Coach, close us out. As Braves, together we rise.
Together we rise.
Thank you, Coach.